Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Pat.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today we're going to be taking a look at one of the big entertainment-related stories from last year. It went on for months. A huge piece of news as a load of people from Hollywood, writers and actors, all just stopped working, stopped making movies.
Yeah. Did this affect the UK at all?
It would have affected British actors maybe working in the States, but it didn't affect the UK's
they kept working.
Movie industry as such.
Good.
Because it's not these unions that have gone on strike.
Were topics like that discussed, though, in the UK at that point?
I think they would have been on the news as to, this stuff is going on over there kind of thing.
Or should we look into it ourselves?
Yeah, because it would have, in terms of day-to-day people, it would have been kind of like, oh, this is why certain movies and TV shows that were advertised as coming this year may now be coming next year kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the Marvel movies got put back a year.
Who cares? Sorry. Sorry for your Marvel fans. Yeah, it affected a lot of people, but the people that I think it affected the most harshly, of course, are the ones you don't see, the ones that their faces aren't famous or familiar to you. There are a lot of people who are in related industries, like they prepare food for the actors and the directors and the writers, or the people who come up with the costumes. I mean, there are a lot of people you never see who were affected. A lot of people lost their businesses, lost their homes. Strikes are really hard. So you want to have a good result after a strike if you decide to go down that path. We're going to find out what happened, what they were striking over, what was the issue or issues involved. But first, guys, we're going to read through day one. The entertainment industry was rocked in 2023 after two powerful unions, the Writers Guild of America, WGA, and the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, SAG-AFTRA, went on strike. Thousands of actors, writers, and other movie and TV professionals, supported by celebrities, demanded more money and more regulations concerning artificial intelligence, AI use, from the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, AMPTP. Central to the financial aspect of the strikes was the effect of streaming on the careers of writers and actors. The way people consume visual media these days has changed, and this has altered how writers and actors are paid. Many writers and background extras struggle to make ends meet, with some quitting altogether, despite working on well-known shows. While AMPTP proposed deals to improve matters, the labor unions didn't feel the deals were good enough. Additionally, writers wanted to ensure that generative AI could only be used as a supporting tool. Many writers feared studios would use AI rather than humans to generate scripts. A similar fear was echoed by background extras, as studios could potentially use AI to scan and recreate extras for crowd scenes, reducing the need to employ and pay humans. The writers' strike ran from May 2nd to September 27th, while the actors' strike lasted from July 14th to November 9th. Ultimately, deals to increase wages and limit AI use were reached in both cases. However, these deals only last for 3 years, and negotiations will be needed again to head off further industrial action.
So we've got Hollywood writers and actors win fight for future for now. We'll get to the for now bit in the final paragraph of this article. But the first part, it's going to explain the general reason for the strikes, and it's also going to give the full names of the major players in this strike, because we're going to be using quite a few more abbreviations later, so we need to get them out of the way to start with. It says the entertainment industry was rocked, it was shaken in 2023 after two powerful unions went on strike. A union is a group of people in a similar industry. They come together to form like an organization that basically protects each other. They protect each other from competition, from being exploited by business owners, that kind of thing. And they went on strike, which means they just said, no, we refuse to work. We are not doing anything until our demands are met. And these unions, we've got 3 kind of big organizations, 2 on strike and 1 that they're kind of striking against.
Yeah.
So we've got the Writers Guild of America. A guild is kind of like the older term for a union. It's a group of people who work in the same business who've allied together to kind of fix prices and stop people competing and putting each other out of business. So if you belong to a guild, it means that guild will look after you. It'll look after your family if there's a problem. You'll pay some money towards them. It's the same kind of idea.
Right. If you belong to a union, you give them a little bit of your paycheck every month. And supposedly, they use those funds to help you and the rest of the workers in that particular union have better pay, maybe have better annual leave.
Yep. Medical insurance, all that sort of good stuff.
We know that here in Taiwan, we had some strikes because the airline industry.
Yes, it's them and the taxi drivers who seem to have a certain amount of union power.
Yeah,
here.
They have some more power. I know that for a long time there weren't unions in Taiwan, but I think that's changing too. So we've got the Writers Guild, and as Pat said, it's kind of an old-fashioned name, but it just means union. And the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. This particular union, you'll see it with those 2 acronyms together. It's one union, but it's SAG-AFTRA. Those are people who are actually in TV shows or movies. I was in a union in New York City, but it was just equity, and it was for stage productions, professional union for actors and musical theater people in that particular industry. But if you're on TV, radio, I did commercials though. I did one in New York. I think you can get away with doing things, little tiny parts, and not be in the union. But you want to be in the union because you get paid better and you also have access to more auditions, just for you guys out there who are interested in being an actor or actress.
We also have the word federation in that second group's name.
Yeah.
A federation is an organization or a group which is made up of smaller divisions, and those smaller divisions have kind of some degree of autonomy. They can make decisions by themselves. So within that group. So for example, the TV part of this group, of SAG-AFTRA, may be able to make a decision because it doesn't affect the radio people of different industries. And screen actors will have their kind of little part in that as well. The most obvious example I can think of is the US in terms of, so there's the big government, the federal government, who can make laws for the whole country, but then each state in this federation can make their own laws.
And that's interesting because it actually is the reverse. When America was founded, the states had all the power, and they gave a little power to the federal government. And now the federal government has gotten so big that now the states are upset. So it's an interesting thing. But yeah, federation just means there are groups within that have their own individual power. Well, 2 of these unions went on strike, and they were striking against a really big group. We're going to talk about that. Again, when you go on strike, you refuse to work. You are not paid. If you're in a union, you receive a little bit of money, but it's not as much as your normal pay. So you are sacrificing, and it can hurt you financially quite a bit. I think the people usually see on strike are famous faces. They're probably not hurting for money. So the ones that it really hurts are the little people. I say little people, the ones that we never see, the average people. Now, thousands of actors, writers, and other movie and TV professionals, supported by celebrities, demanded more money and more regulations concerning artificial intelligence, AI use, from the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. So this was the big group that they were striking against. I would say, because I'm on the side of the actors, I would say they're the bad guys.
Yeah.
And the actors are the good guys, the writers, actors. Yeah.
It kind of means the studios mostly here, the big distributors, the big companies that make the movies and stuff, the producing team. So we've got a few words to look at here. First, we've got professionals. If you are a professional, a TV professional, that means you work in the TV industry and that is your main paid job. Stephanie and I are more on the amateur side of things when it comes to that. We would do maybe some stage plays or have in the past. We've done some different commercial gigs and things like that. But I would certainly say I'm not a professional actor.
I was a professional singer, though.
Yes, you were. So
that's all I did.
But that's because it was your job and your main source of income.
Yeah.
So that's what we mean. You can be an actor without being a professional. You can be a musician without being a professional. But if it's your main job and your main source of money, then you would be a professional of that sort.
Yeah.
So then they were supported by celebrities because the celebrities, even the big Hollywood ones, are also members of the unions.
Yeah.
So if the union says we're going on strike, the celebrities, they kind of have to as well.
Although they did make exceptions for the very famous celebrities
I'm sure they did.
to continue on making movies. So you see how that really just doesn't affect people with power.
But a celebrity is just somebody very famous who many people will have heard of, will recognize, will know their name. They're celebrated for their achievements in mostly entertainment.
And some of people who are celebrities aren't famous for any talent that they have.
Yep.
We've got people out there like the Kardashians. They're not celebrities for any talent they have. So some people are just famous for being famous. So you can use that word for people who are just famous people. They don't have to be actors, writers, directors, anything like that. Well, the people on strike, they demanded more money and they wanted more regulations concerning the use of artificial intelligence, which is just going to keep growing. I don't think we're going to see artificial intelligence leave.
No, it's here now.
Yeah, it's here to stay, and it's getting a little scary for some of us. A regulation is like a rule or a policy that you have to obey. It's not something, though, that if you don't follow the regulation, you get, arrested by the police and put into prison. It's a rule, a policy. You might have to pay a fine if you don't follow certain regulations, but they're rules that they have, at least on in this particular industry, there are rules or regulations as to how people can act and be treated in certain ways.
So that covers who's striking, who they're striking against, and why they're striking. We'll go into a bit more detail in just a moment. Right now, we're going to hand over to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, 我是派老师。今天讲解的是5月29号 Unit16 Hollywood Writers and Actors Win Fight for Future, but now. 好，这是第一天的课程内容。这个单元介绍的是好莱坞去年所发生的罢工事件。我相信听众当中有不少人都很喜欢好莱坞的电视电影。而且老实说，如果不是生活在英语系国家，这些影视节目的确是我们学习英文、接触英语文化相当便利的媒介。不过，在去年好莱坞的编剧还有演员工会陆续罢工，他们要求比较好的薪资待遇，而且也希望人工智慧的使用能够受到适当的管制，以避免将来他们的工作受到取代。好，我们一起来看学习重点吧。请同学看到第一段第一个句子，请同学看到的是主要子句的部分，就是在主词 entertainment industry 之后，这个过去被动语态，过去式的被动语态 was rocked。请同学特别注意到的这个 rocked， 其实就是等于整个娱乐产业受到很大的怎么样呢？震惊。那这件事情的影响力非常的大，所以我们用 the industry was rocked。好，那受到这么大的震撼，到底是什么事情呢？原来有两大的强大的工会，他们罢工了。好，这两个工会分别是 WGA， 然后还有呢 SAG-AFTRA， 也就是演员还有编剧工会，他们罢工了。那到底是为了什么事情呢？原来他们希望能够获得比较好的待遇，此外呢，也希望针对 AI 的使用，那能够有一些比较好的适当的管制。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. So let's get into detail about these strikes. Central to the financial aspect of the strikes was the effect of streaming on their careers.
Yeah.
If something's central to something, it's the key part of it. And if it's key to the financial aspect, it's basically saying this is what the money thing was about. They're not saying they weren't getting paid enough for their normal contracts, but they were saying like it's streaming. Streaming is why we're striking for more money here, what the problem is. And streaming, of course, is just this way of showing programs and movies and TV shows online through a computer network. And importantly, the difference is you don't have to fully download it to start watching it. Before streaming, you would have to download the whole thing onto your computer and then watch it. Now you're watching and downloading at the same time. That is streaming.
Yeah.
So Netflix and all the other things like that.
Right. Although I miss just downloading the entire thing because sometimes your computer network, your internet is slow.
Yep.
Or it goes out. I've been having problems this last week, and I think, so I pull out old things I have. That's why people used to buy movies, you know, because then you'd have them forever. Well, the streaming is a problem, and we're going to talk about why it has a big effect on the careers of writers and actors. The way people consume or use visual media these days has changed. I am shocked, Pat, at all the people I see watching TV shows on their phones. Mm-hmm. That's way too small for me. I don't have a TV at home, so I watch things on my computer.
Yep.
And even that seems kind of small, so I can't imagine on a phone. But I know the younger generation really likes that. Well, the way we consume visual media, we're talking about all of us out there.
So we see that many writers and background extras struggle to make ends meet. Mm-hmm. A background extra is somebody who is in a play or a TV show or a movie, and they're just in the background. They almost never have any lines. They're never close to the camera. They're just people in the crowd. They're in the background. And some of these actors and writers are quitting the whole business. That's what we mean by quitting altogether, despite working on well-known shows. We use despite to mean without being affected by. So here it means that even though these actors are on well-known shows, they're doing famous movies, they're still not making enough money. So they're just going, well, even though I did big movies last year, I still have to quit and I still have to get a non-acting job to support my family. So we see while AMPTP proposed deals to improve matters, so they said, okay, we understand your concerns. How about this? Here's a deal. Mm-hmm. The labor unions, or these working groups, that's what labor means, work. These are workers' unions, didn't feel the deals were good enough. They said, sorry, we're not taking that. We're not accepting that deal. So we're going on strike until you propose something better. Striking is a very extreme measure because it does create some bad feeling on both sides. So unions don't like to do it unless they've got no other moves to make because they know it's going to hurt people and they know it's going to get the public may decide, well, now you're the bad guys, you're greedy, you're asking for more money. So they don't take it lightly.
Yeah, although I don't know how they were reacting to it in England, but in America, I think that people just kind of got used to not seeing those shows and you started doing other things. I think it affected primarily, the comedians on late night TV. Like they can't write their own jokes, you know? Right. So people stopped watching them and they really don't have an audience anymore. But there's so many videos and TV shows that people already own. Mm-hmm. You know, if you have DVDs, you're set. You don't have to.
Yeah, you can still stream the stuff. Yeah. There's just nothing new for a bit.
Nothing new. And, you know, some of your favorite shows were maybe on their last season and you really wanted to see it, like Yellowstone was popular. But I don't think it affected viewers so much.
No, I think most people were on the actors and writers side. I think it's hard to be on the side of the big corporate studio.
No.
But in general, people would have been like, yeah, I think they deserve more money.
Yeah, because the producers, the studios, they're not the ones producing the talent that we see. They're not writing. They're not acting. They have the big bucks. They seem to make the big bucks. And so people were really actually on the side of the actors for sure and the writers.
Yeah, but it wasn't only money that was part of the problem.
No, that was probably less important than this next issue?
I don't know. I think the money was pretty high on the concerns list, but also high was AI. We see additionally, writers wanted to make sure that generative AI could only be used as a supporting tool. We use generative AI here because that's the term we use for ChatGPT, Google Bard. It's AI that generates content rather than, just...
I didn't know that. That's good to know.
That's the term, yeah. Other kinds of AI maybe answer questions or run programs in the background or do things like that. Generative AI is the one that's come out in the last sort of 12, 18 months that people are using to actually write things and do work with.
Okay. So they wanted to make sure that their contracts stipulated or had in writing that they could only use ChatGPT or generative AI as a supporting tool. It couldn't replace people altogether. I know that they had started using some AI, on some background scenes and things like that. If they were, for example, trying to picture a war being fought, it's a lot cheaper to use computer-generated action scenes and people in the background than hiring hundreds of extras, which they used to do. For example, I was thinking of the movie The Patriot from long ago that Mel Gibson was in. Those were real people that he hired. And it costs a lot of money. Those are extras that he's hiring, and they have to be put into wardrobe. So costumes have to be made for them. It's very, very expensive. So using computer technology would be a heck of a lot cheaper. Now, many writers feared studios would use AI rather than humans to generate scripts. We're seeing that today everywhere, aren't we? If you are generating, you're producing something, and a script is what we call just the words that are said on TV programs, TV shows, even in the news, they script all their news shows. And in movies, the script is what you're given. You're actually given a screenplay. We use kind of a different word for that, with all the words and the directions and what the writer was really envisioning.
So a similar fear to AI replacing writers was echoed, so they've got the same idea, say, yes, me too, by background extras, as studios could potentially or possibly use AI to scan and recreate extras for crowd scenes, reducing the need to employ and pay humans. So to scan someone means to make a digital copy. You just look at all their features and you record that as data in a computer. And sometimes you need to do that. That's how we get like digital photos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But here it just means, okay, we get one person, we scan him and use AI to change this person's face and clothes a bit, and bam, we've got like 20 people that we can put in a scene. Now, sometimes they need to do this. I think of the Lord of the Rings movies. We don't have 10,000 orcs. We got to make them on the computer. But for all the close-ups, they used real people in suits.
Yeah.
But AI is getting so good, it could even replace those close-up people.
Yeah. So the strikers, or the writers' strike, ran from May 2nd to September 27th. And then the actors' strike was a little shorter. Actually, no, it seemed like it's about the same amount of time. It just started later and ended later. And it started July 14th and it went through November 9th. Ultimately, deals to increase wages and limit AI use were reached in both cases. As I said to Pat before we started, I don't think they got a very good deal. I think the deal that they reached was pretty bad for both writers and actors. But I think people were getting seriously, they were getting in financial distress. So many people, so they decided to just, take what they were offered at that point and then try to go back in another 3 years. But I think once they go back in 3 years, the time will be too late for them. That's what I worry about. Ultimately is one of our vocab words. It just means after a series of things have happened, and this is the conclusion. This is at the end. Ultimately, I went shopping yesterday, looked at a lot of dresses. Ultimately, I got the one that was the most expensive, which I'll probably regret.
Yeah, it just means in the end.
In the end.
So these deals only last for 3 years, and negotiations will be needed again to head off further industrial action. Negotiations is discussions. It's that real sit-down details like, okay, we're going to look at this point. And negotiations often involves a certain amount of give and take. Like, this is our offer. Like, no, we can't accept this. This is what we want. Well, we can't go that far, but maybe we'll go this far. Like, can you go a bit further? Can you go a bit further?
Yeah.
And trying to find some kind of common ground that usually nobody is happy with, but you'll both accept.
Yeah. A more casual word that we use sometimes if we're in the night market, we could say we're going to haggle over prices.
Make a deal.
H-A-G-G-L-E, haggle, make a deal. Negotiations are more formal, but we use negotiations quite often in business.
Yeah. And to head off something means to prevent it from happening before it starts. If someone's sick or they're thinking, I feel sick, I'm going to head off worse problems by taking action now. So they're going to negotiate before it comes to another strike. That's the plan there. And industrial action is just another word for strikes. It's often used on the news. You might say there's industrial action, which means people are on strike.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's what it means. And maybe that could be a very British phrase since I wrote this one.
I think it might be, but I love it.
Yeah, we use it a lot. If you hear industrial action, that means people are on strike.
Oh, that's very good to know. Okay, guys, well, we're going to keep our fingers crossed and see what's going to happen in the next few years. Time is going so fast. It will be in front of us before too long. Right now, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher one more time, and then we'll be back to say goodbye.
好，接着我们看第二段的第一个句子。第二段的第一个句子是倒装句 ，central to the financial aspect of the strikes。这里呢，其实应该是主词补语。好，那真正的主词在后面 ，the effect of streaming， 就是串流带来的影响。好，那再来，请看到第二个句子。第二个句子在对的连接词 and 之后的子句 ，this has altered， 这个改变了什么？动词是alter， 那指的就是改变。再来，请同学呢看到第三个句子有一个重要的动词片语 ，Many writers and background extras struggle to make ends meet。好，这个动词片语的意思就是指收支平衡，就是意思就是指他们呢希望自己在经济生活方面能够过得去。那由于几乎做不到，因为他们觉得收入不够嘛，所以有一些人就怎么样呢？他就干脆不做了 ，with some quitting。好，记住，在 with 之后，我们是不可能看到原形动词的，所以要做动词的变化。那这里是主动的辞职，所以我们用加上 ing， 就有些人因为待遇不够好，所以就辞职了。再来，请看到第三段，第一个句子，这里我们可以清楚的看到，原来好莱坞的编剧他们还有一项要求，不只是薪资这方面而已，他们希望这种生成式 AI 的运用能够受到适当的管理管制。Writers wanted to ensure that， 他们希望呢能够确保一件事。那 ensure 这个动词后面的名词子句 generative AI， 这里我们看到动词是用原形的 be 动词，为什么？当然跟 ensure 有关系。他们希望呢能够确保这件事情，那所以后面呢我们是用 be 动词原形。那这些编剧希望生成式的 AI 只能够用来当做什么协助的工具，不要去取代他们的工作。再来，请同学看到第三个句子，其实不只是编剧有担忧而已，群众演员其实也有类似的担忧。A similar fear was echoed。好，所以 echo 原本是回音的意思，那这个句子的意思就是让我们知道说，原来不只是编剧，群众演员他们也有类似的困扰，类似的担忧。好，再来我们看到第四段，请同学看到第二个句子 Ultimately, deals to increase wages and limit AI use were reached。 好，请同学先把 deals were reached 画起来，就是达成协议 deals were reached， reach a deal， 所以这个词语搭配相当的重要。针对加薪还有 AI 的使用的限制这方面呢，在最后呢总算是达成协议了，终止了罢工了。但是有一个但是 However, these deals only last for 3 years， 但协议呢只有3年的效期。 3年过后怎么样？要重新协商。Negotiations will be needed again to head off further industrial action. 请特别注意的 head off 这个动词片语是防止、避免的意思。要避免什么呢？ Industrial action 所指的是罢工或者其他劳资纠纷的相关的一些行动。好，以上就是我们对于这一篇课文第一天内容所做的中文讲解。谢谢。
We have one more day to talk about the Hollywood writers and actors strike and what they achieved and what they hoped to achieve, and also what might be coming down the road in the future. We hope that they'll be very successful. I can say that.
We're really going to look at tomorrow the deal with streaming. We mentioned today why it was a deal, and tomorrow we're going to dive into that in a lot more detail. So we'll see you tomorrow for that. Bye for now.
Bye.